Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Anara Tabashalieva, along with co-host Dr. Victor Fett, Dr. Katerina Shrey, and our program producer, Professor Larry Sherray. We host a weekly discussion panel on Russia's war on Ukraine with guests from Ukraine, military experts, medical personnel, academics, artists, literary figures, and relief workers. Our panel is recorded and circulated nationally and internationally. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Special thanks to Marshall University Libraries and MUIT for making this weekly event possible. If you are joining us live on Teams, please feel free to use the chat to post any question for our guest. A quick greetings to our viewers in Ukraine from Dr. Katerina Shrey.
Вітаємо наших слухачів в Україні з глибоким покліном. Ми далі свідки вашого страшного терпіння і також вашої великої сили. Дякую вам за вашу участь в нашій тижневій програмі.
Thank you, Katerina. Today's guest will be introduced by Dr. Victor Fett.
Thank you, Anara. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce Jens Alstrup, who is originally from Denmark, but he is talking to us from the front line in Ukraine. Jens has been to our program before last year, and we asked him to come back to give us the direct report from the battlefield and also to talk about hybrid war, which is developing in Europe, including, in fact, Denmark right now as we speak. Jens, please, microphone is yours. We are honored by your presence.
Thank you very much. I'm here with a lot of hats on. I work as journalist. I'm here as activist. I have even become an arms dealer officially as of today. No, actually arms producer. Where we are going to produce drones in Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you about the situation right here and now. And if you hear some loud noises in the background, it's actually Russian artillery hitting Kramatorsk in this very moment. And that is why there is no electricity. I'm running on batteries and smartphone 4G right now. In Europe and America, we are working with 5G now, but in Ukraine, they decided not to invest in it as they have so many other things to use their money for, and 4G is actually okay. But there are many soldiers here, so there is a lot of use of the bandwidth. And if need be, I need to talk without a picture. But it's working now, so why not continue and hope it will continue that way. Maybe you have heard about the big breakthrough by the Russians near Pokrovsk. Not so far from where I'm sitting in this very moment. It's called the Dopropila sector, and it means that this corridor of logistics cannot be used anymore. The front line is really much too close. It's only 2 months ago I was driving on that route, and it's absolutely impossible now. And logistics in that area, which is very important for logistics, has been moved into some very, very bad roads. What you have heard recently is that Russian tactics today in that sector was much like their great-great-grandfathers, meaning retreat was impossible, and the Ukrainians were able to surround large numbers of Russian troops in that area. It is boosted as a very significant victory. And in some ways, that is correct. Let me say it in that way. If the Ukrainians lost in that sector, it would be not catastrophic, but very, very serious. So they made this counter-offensive. They were able to cut off a huge number of Russian troops. Some of them have not been eliminated yet or surrendered, but many hundreds have surrendered, and their colleagues will either be eliminated or surrender themselves. The Russians are trying to break the encirclement, but the Ukrainians are too strong for that at the moment. It's a big victory, and it means it's not a Stalingrad. This is not a point where everything will change in the favor of Ukraine, but it's a situation where a catastrophe was avoided. And what happens after this is, of course, very difficult to say. If Europe finally do what should be done, we again have time to do it, where 1 month ago, before the Ukrainian counteroffensive, it could at worst be a situation where we would not have the time. So bravery and tactical skills and Russian incompetence in this situation gave us another chance to do the right thing, which in my opinion is that Ukraine must win. And what a victory is, or how a victory will look like, is of course difficult to say. I can guarantee you it will not be Ukrainian troops in Moscow. I cannot imagine a thing like that. But pushing the Russian army out of Ukraine and eliminate huge part of this army will be a victory where I think even Putin will have difficulties getting over it. But that's not where we are now. We are now where it's possible again to do it. And why you should not think of it as a Stalingrad or an El Alamein is because this victory did come at a cost. For example, today when I was driving from Kharkiv to Kramatorsk, the main road there, which is the main logistic connection, the most important of them all, is now a Russian drone-infected area, because the third attack brigade that were moved to strengthen the troops to make the victory in the Dropopila sector was removed from the southern point of the Kupiansk district, meaning, for those who know Ukrainian geography, and not so far north of Slavyansk and a little to the south of Liman. And the big removal of troops in that sector gave the Russians a breakthrough there. And it means that the main road is now drone infected by Russian kamikaze drones. And it's you see people there go all they can. They all have helmets on, military protection vests, driving at high speed, and large parts of the road has been protected with nets in order to catch the drones if they attack. A friend of mine, a soldier, a veteran for 11 years in this war, said to me that, oh, then there are these nets and that will protect you. The only thing that will happen is that all the window will be blasted and there will be holes in the car and your hearing will eventually partly come back later. And then I could say to him, okay, Sergey, then I need not worry about anything. Well, we need humor to survive. And unfortunately, I had to deliver medical supplies for a stabilization point, and there I had to go much closer to this Russian advance. Today I was only 9 kilometers away from Russian troops, and that means far within range of artillery and small drones. And I did also have fires behind me coming from artillery that had bombed position. And the wood is quite dry right now, so it makes fires where the artillery hit. And you really have to drive fast. In that sense, I'm a bit handicapped because the van I'm driving in is French and with a very minimal engine. So fast in that one is not really very fast, but I can talk with you. So everything went well, and I did deliver the medical supplies to the stabilization point. And here today I have delivered prototype drones, the ones we are going to produce, and other equipment for a drone unit, including computers, power stations, and other stuff. Power stations are in a very high rate out here, and when you look at the darkness here, you can understand why. That's a bit about the frontline situation. Sumy was also very active until recently, but the Russians are more or less kicked out again, though the Ukrainians have been kicked out of, now I don't remember the name of the Russian province, but right outside Sumy. The Ukrainians were inside Russia, and they have been out for quite long, and it doesn't seem that they will get back anytime soon again. About the drones, that is the main battle right now. Infantry have heavy losses to drones, and the latest tactic in Sumy area is that the Ukrainian soldiers are hiding in the trenches, and the Russians keep 24/7 observation drones over their head. And when they are about to use up the battery, they fly back, and a new fully charged observation drone will come and take over. And that way, in rotation, they will keep observing the Ukrainian trenches. And occasionally they are ordered to shoot down these observation drones, but that is what the Russians are waiting for. And immediately when there is a shot against the drone, whether it hits or not, the Russians will know where the Ukrainians are, and they will start artillery, and they will eliminate the position by using large quantities of artillery, which is a tactic they have, well, not with drones, of course, but otherwise that is the Russian tactic since at least World War II. So it's a very old tradition, not much new in that. Only the observation drone is a new element in this way of fighting. Another thing I also must emphasize a lot, I told about Russian stupidity, not redrawing their troops while the corridor was still open. And yes, that's stupid. But I also have to remind you that some Ukrainian commanders did the same. Need I mention Bakhmut, Severodonetsk, and There was the area right outside Donetsk where they also had very huge losses from being encircled by Russian troops. So it goes unfortunately both ways. When it comes to old Soviet doctrines of the more stupid ones, I will say that they both are guilty in performing that, but not so much the Ukrainians as the Russians. And the Ukrainians are doing a lot to get in new young commanders. For example, the commander of the 93rd Brigade that I'm closely working together with. His name is Shamil Kravtsov, and he's only 27 years old, and Colonel Lieutenant. The youngest brigade commander in Ukraine. Actually, it seems a new one is coming who is younger, 25 years old, but that's very, very recent. So Ukraine is learning. I must also remember or remind you that it's not only the Ukrainians that are learning. The Russians do that too. If there's someone who really are very slow at learning, unfortunately, I have to say that is NATO. Let me give you an example. The NATO way of doing things in arms is that we develop perfection within the temporary technical opportunities we have. And we do that because we have a lot of money compared with the rest of the world. But these perfection weapons take a lot of time to develop, and then when we have them, we have not used them for many, many years, except what the British call tin pot countries. I mean, Iraq was a big country with a big army, but only in numbers. Nobody would ever believe that Saddam Hussein suddenly had his troops in New York and London and Paris and so on. Absolutely not. It was a short war. We had overwhelming capacity, firepower, and we used our perfect arms to eliminate the enemy in one big stroke. But that's not what we can do against Russia. It's too big. And if we, with perfect weapons, do not eliminate the opposition right away, given that the opposition is skilled and the Russians are skilled, then we give them time. And in Russia and China, they have a 2, 3, 4 week circle of improvement. So let me give you an example. The HIMARS rocket launcher system, they all hit their target to begin with, almost 100%. The Russians were unable to to make jamming of them. They were unable to hit them, and that saved the front line in 2023. That was HIMARS that saved the day. But then the Russians had these 4 weeks, tried new jamming methods, and then they were able to jam perhaps 1% of the HIMARS. 4 weeks went again, then they were able to jam perhaps 10% and so on. And today, HIMARS are almost like any other weapon. It's less than 30% that hit the target. And that is because we help Ukraine to survive. We don't help Ukraine to win. And that gives time for the Russians. They learn. They are not stupid people. They are very, very good people, very intelligent, of course. and they learn, they develop countermeasures, then our perfect weapons are no longer perfect. And what we do is that, for example, with the drones attacking Poland. I was in Poland actually, somehow I seem to be where things happen. I was actually in the area in Poland when these Russian drones entered Poland. Ukraine said that 31 Russian drones entered Polish very we threw them. Were cheap and we talk about $13,000.
Larry, can you do something about transmission?
Yes, we have problem with transmission, I think.
I am getting through.
Oh,
Now you're fine.
Now it's better. Yes.
Now it's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. These 3 drones that were shot down by NATO represented a price or a value of $13,000 each. But we used F-35 to shoot them down using missiles. And the price of these missiles are at average $1 million. So we used $3 million to eliminate 3 unarmed drones worth $40,000. That's not a good hit record. And it was only 3 out of 19. And the 19 are very problematic because in these days they find the 12 we did not register around in the forests in Poland. So I think, I feel very confident that it actually was 31 and the Ukrainians were right when they said 31. So initially NATO said it was a big victory. I'm sorry to say that we stood there completely naked afterwards. We don't have a drone defense. In small Denmark, where we had even more drones now,
You froze now. I'm sorry.
Our promise that we will have an efficient drone defense.
Yes, signal froze again.
Actually said that guaranteed defense against drones as it is for now.
It's now okay.
Good.
You came back.
Good. So there's no guaranteed defense against drones, unfortunately. But you can see that in Kiev, that is the best protected place in Ukraine, and many drones get through almost every night. I can see it from my window when I am in Ukraine, when I am in Kiev, and that is where I am most of the days during the year. I'm many places, but this is the one place where I am most of the time. Here in Kramatorsk and the other frontline towns, you don't hear about the drones because it's not that journalists are not allowed to tell about it. I can tell you about it. But the general staff in Ukraine never tell about military targets being hit. Out here, we cannot have a working air defense because it would be within range of the drones, meaning that it will be destroyed. Russia tried to have it, and Ukraine successfully destroyed a lot of S-400 systems. Before that, they destroyed practically all S-300 systems. And that's the reason why Russia wants to buy back the Turkish S-400 system that they sold to Turkey some time ago, to the great anger of United States, and by the way also for the rest of NATO, because if you have an allied country using weapon systems of the enemy, it's really a strange ally to have. So that is the situation on this. In practical terms, to go here, it's very difficult for the civilian population. I saw practically no civilian vehicles on the road today. People only go on this road if it's really necessary. And everybody in the cars wore helmets, military protection vests, and driving at the high speed. In the cities, people are tired of the war. It is difficult for the civilian population here. People are tired in the morning after the air raids during the night. It's even if you are not very afraid of it, the big explosions makes it impossible to sleep in Kiev during the big raids, and everybody are walking around like zombies next morning. Yeah, that's pretty much the situation here. There's also that there are some good things. There is a lot of drone production in Ukraine, a lot of research and development, new ways of doing development on. It's very chaotic. It's very grassroots. It's very ad hoc, and the research and development, the time from idea to actually having a prototype working and to have it as a weapon at the front line is very, very short. The interceptor drone, the most advanced they have, it took only 7 months from idea to production. In weapon systems, that's lightning fast. So there is a lot of technology developing here. But we are also getting to a point when we talk about drones where the content of high tech in them has risen to a level where we can see the end of making fast progress on a week-to-week basis. We had a prototype of a drone tested in April, and there it was state of the art. And right now it's, to be honest, it's something like average. Not because our drone is worse now, but because things develop very fast. And that is how the situation is here. And Russia is very much on the
Jen, you've frozen up again. We're unable to hear you at all, Jen, unless the problem's on my end.
No, that is a problem.
No.
And he did warn us that electricity, that he's working off, I think, a generator, and because he is so close to the front, and he warned us that we might be hearing artillery in the background. So hopefully he's okay.
We can wait. It's not a problem for us to wait, and we have time. Jens told me that we agreed that if he cannot come back online, we will just stop recording at this point.
Let's minimize this photo though while we're waiting. And it is amazing, his explanation of how fast the technology goes from concept to actual creation is absolutely amazing. How the way the industry has just come together to produce these materials. It's also really interesting when he's talking about the need for driving fast, obviously with drones, but the netting over the top. We've learned a lot from him just in the first little half of his talk. It's been quite impressive. Our journalist, activist friend, Jens Alstrup from the front line in Ukraine. Any thoughts and comments while we wait for him to be able to reconnect with us from anybody?
One thing that definitely we wanted to discuss with Jens was the situation in Europe, including Denmark, because that's where the allegedly Russian drones, I have no doubt, are working now for a couple of weeks very intensely, including Denmark. And what I can gather, they just went into a phase, as everyone have seen probably in the news, when they identified the tanker, the French, brought in the tanker from Russian Shadow Fleet. Allegedly, this was the place from where drones were launched in Northern Europe. Several countries reporting in past week disruptions, drones next to airports and so on. One other piece of news maybe missed by many was that yesterday Polish and Lithuanian special services identified some terrorists who tried to smuggle explosives from Lithuania to Poland with fittings to be carried by drone. Up to 3 gallons, the 3-gallon canisters, something like this with this. Dr. Deutsch, you have a question?
If Jen comes back, I'd like
Yes.
to ask him about relative numbers. How many do the Russians have as opposed to how many the Ukrainians have? And perhaps more importantly, what is the source of the Russian drones? Are they creating them themselves? Or are they getting them from North Korea? Are they getting them from China? Where are they getting them from? And at the same time, the Ukrainians, what percentage are they producing? 90% of their own, all of them, or a smaller percentage? And who is supplying them? Just the source of if we get him back, that's all.
I'm trying to get him on Messenger. Looks like he is active on Messenger. So if we try to get audio, that's all we need. Let me call him.
And while you're doing that, I'll just express sympathy to our viewers in Ukraine over it was Friday and Saturday's terrible attacks in Kiev and other cities. It's just been very difficult. Leslie, please join us.
Yes, I think I can answer at least part of Dean Deutsch's question, which is that from what I've heard, a lot of the drones that the Russians are currently using are made by Russia, but on the model of the Iranian-built Shahed drones, which they got a lot of earlier in the war. I think they've basically gotten the blueprints for how to build them themselves. I think that's what a lot of the drones they've been using have been.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So any indication of them being supplied by other countries, or just the template? They're using the template, but nothing. Are you aware of anything in terms of supplies, other countries supplying these drones to Russia?
I would be surprised if there weren't some countries supplying drones to Russia. Obviously, I know that the Iranians were supplying a lot of drones to Russia earlier in the war. I think it's more shifted so that rather than Iran building the drones and selling them to Russia, now mostly Russia's building the drones themselves on the Iranian template, but Iran has also been busy doing other things over the past year or so. No, they probably haven't had as many resources and hands to spare on helping out Russia.
Well, thank you for chiming in. Thank you. I appreciate this very much.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to dial Jens on Messenger, but I don't think I have a connection. Let me try once again.
Is there a way that we can pause the recording so we wouldn't have to do some splicing later? There is a way, I believe, to just like to pause it, not just necessarily stop it, just pause it.
I see we're on the stop option. I do not really see pausing.
If we stop it and start it again, it starts a whole new video. We need to splice the two together. Unfortunately, I have been out of space on my computer at home to do that. So we would have to post two separate videos.
That's fine.
We've done that before, part 1, part 2. That's not the end of the world.
If you don't mind, Victor, you could go ahead and stop this then, and we'll just restart.